Time for lesson 22. Quite simply, today we're going to be playing 4 two-handed examples, so kind of a longer one, I think. These examples will involve using the rests that we've talked about, eighth notes, sharps, and flats, and I'll probably continue to put out, especially on the wiki, some additional examples to help you out. So anyway, I'll see you in a second for the lesson. Okay, back at the keyboard once again for lesson 22, of course. Today we have a tall order. We're going to do 4 examples here. Somebody left a comment asking when we were going to do two-handed examples using eighth notes, sharps, flats, and the rest that we've been talking about. And the answer to that question is today. So here we have the lesson 22 two-handed example, number 1. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so this one is with sharps. If you notice, there's only a couple sharps in here. I count 3, I believe. Yes. So I want to point out a rule that I may have neglected to tell you. I don't quite remember, but it's probably good that we go over it anyway. The rule is whenever you have a note that's sharped in a measure, that note is sharped for the rest of the measure, even if it doesn't have a sharp in front of it. So let's look at measure number 2. So we have, with the right hand, so we have F sharp, D, F, and G. Well, due to the rule I just told you, not only is that first F sharped, but that the second F, the third beat, is also sharped. But the D and the G are not sharped, so it only applies to when the note letter is the same. So say we had it's not here, but say we had a D sharp in a measure. Well, if we had another D in that measure, unless it's said otherwise, that D will also be sharp. So with that said, let's get started. We'll do the right hand first. We have 4/4 time signature. Maybe we should do a couple with a different time signature to show you what that's like, but today these are all 4/4 because the focus is on sharps, flats, rests, and eighth notes. So this one, no eighth notes, but we do have some sharps. So the first measure, we have C with finger 1, E with finger 3, G with finger 5, and E with finger 3 again. Pretty simple. The next measure, we have F sharp with finger 4, D with finger 1, F sharp again, remember the rule, with finger 4, and G with 5. Now, because we're in a new measure, that F we see there at the second beat of the third measure is an F natural. It's just regular old F is what I mean by that, because after the measure is over, that rule no longer applies. So simply we have G with 5, F with 4, E with 3, D with 2, and then the last measure we have C with 1, a whole note. So once you can play it smoothly from beginning to end, it should look and sound like this. So there you go. There's the right hand of example 1. Here is the left hand part. So we have C with 5, E with 3, and then the next measure we have D with 4, F sharp with 2, and then you have G with 1, which is our thumb on the third measure, E with 3, and then our last measure here we have C with 5, C sharp with 4. And then notice that we have this symbol. I don't know if I've told you about this before, but that symbol there on the very last note is a natural. So if you had a C sharp earlier in the measure, like we have, and you wanted to make that a regular C, you would use that symbol there, known as a natural, which makes it just the regular note again. So once you can play that forward beginning to end fluidly, it should sound like this. So together now we're going to play it. Again. I'll slow it down a little bit this time. So that's example 1. Let's get example 2 up on the screen. There we have it. So this one should look a lot like the last one we did, except a few differences. Instead of sharps now, we have some flats. There are quite a few in this one. Remember the rule we talked about last time, so that the first measure with the right hand, treble clef there, we have C, E flat, G, and what's the last note there? Remember, E flat, because the rule applies when we have E flat earlier in the measure. The next E is also flat, unless we have the natural sign in front of it. Can't see anywhere else that happens. I may be overlooking it. But pretty straightforward, very similar to the last one we did. I just switched it around a little bit to include some flats. So let's just go over the right hand. So the first measure, we have C with 1, E flat with 3, G with 5, E flat with 3, and then the next measure, we have F with 4, D with 1, F with 2, so we're kind of switching the fingers here to give us some room, G with 3, and then the third measure, A flat with 4, F with 1, so we're kind of doing a crossover here, and then we have E flat with 3, D with 2, and then lastly we have C with 1, whole note there. So once you can play it fluidly and effectively from beginning to end, it should sound like this. Whoops, wrong fingering. So the last two measures again. So again, this time without any mistakes. There you go. So that's our right hand. Left hand, we have C with 5, first measure there. E flat with 3. And then the next measure is going to be 4 with D. 2 with F. A flat with 1. E flat with 3. And then 5 with C. 4 with D flat. And 5 with C again. So a little bit faster. So, hands together very slowly. There you have it. Now a little bit faster. So there you go. Obviously when you practice these, you want to start out as slow as you can while getting all the notes. Then you want to play it again and again and speed it up as you go along. So you should be reading through each of these maybe 4 or 5 times, maybe over a couple of days. I would play them until you almost perfect them. So let's take a look at the next example. So lesson 22, two-handed example number 3 with eighth notes. So if you notice here, I have the numbers are a little bit different than you're used to. With the right hand, the finger numbers are on the bottom. Now there are numbers on the top, and that's for me to help you count these out because we're using eighth notes now. If you're not familiar with this, please watch my video on counting eighth notes. That should help you out a great deal. So looking at this first measure here, we're only looking at the top numbers. Don't worry about the finger numbers quite yet. We'll do that in a minute. So if you look here, we have 4 beats in a measure, and the first beat we need to split up into 2. And the reason is because we have eighth notes, and eighth notes are worth half a beat. So we need to split that first beat up into 2. We use that using the term and, again discussed in the video I put out before. And then beats 2, 3, and 4 are fine. Looking at the top numbers there because those are just straight quarter notes. So you're going to count this first measure like this. 1 and 2, 3, 4. Again, 1 and 2, 3, 4. Looking at the second measure, we need to split up beats 1 and 2 into 2 parts. Beats 3 and 4 are fine because we have quarter notes there. And another thing I should mention is when you have 4 eighth notes in a row, they beam them all across like that. There's no break in between the beaming, in case you're wondering about that. So those are indeed still eighth notes, even though it looks a little bit different. So you're going to count this one, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Again, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. The third measures, the counting is going to be the same, but with different notes. The counting is going to be the same as the first measure, so it's going to go 1 and 2, 3, 4. The next to last measure is going to be the same counting as measure 2. It's going to go 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And then the last measure is very easy, just whole note. It'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. So counting it out, going through it again, it's going to go 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So going over just the fingers, first measure right hand, we have C and D with fingers 1 and 2. There's eighth notes there. Then you have E with finger 3, G with 5, F with 4. And then the next measure, you have E with 3, D with 2, G with 5, F with 4, E with 3, D with 2. And just note, I'm not playing the correct rhythm right now. We're just going over the finger numbers. The third measure there is going to be C with 1, D with 2, E with 3. And now we're going to cross under to hit that G with 1. And we do that so we can hit the C with 5 and we don't run out of fingers. And then you kind of put your pinky down here. So you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1 with the last two measures. So G with 5, F with 4, E with 3, D with 2, C with 1, D with 2, C with 1. Now, I will post this up to the wiki, and then you can fill out the note names if you need to. I don't recommend you do that anymore unless you really have to. I suggest you try to get so good at reading the notes that you no longer need to do that. That will help you out a great deal, since a lot of music don't write in the notes for you. So looking at the left hand's simpler. So you notice how we have the fingerings now like kind of in a column. The top number corresponds to the top note of the chord, middle corresponds with the middle, and the lowest number corresponds with the lowest note on the chord. So we have some triads here. They are made out of 3 notes, as you know, I hope. So we have this, the C major chord in the first measure. The second measure, don't worry about the chord names, but I'm going to tell you anyway. You have a second inversion E minor chord, which we play with fingers 1, 2, and 5. So B with 5, E with 2, G with 1. Third measure, we have an F major chord in second inversion. Go look back and look at the chord videos. I think that's one of the theory videos if you're confused on what the chords are and what I'm talking about. But anyway, you have C with 5, F with 2, and A with 1. That's the third measure there. Next to last measure, we're just going to move our fingers up 1. So we have D with 5, G with 2, and B with 1. And then the last measure, we shift up again, except we're only going to hit E with 5 and G with 3. Like that. So when you can play it forward to backwards, it should sound like this, just plain whole notes, so pretty simple in the rhythm. There you go. So we're going to put these together. The counting may be something you need to work on, especially with that right hand there. But just know, don't freak yourself out about the counting between both hands, especially on this one, because the only time you change left hand notes is once a measure, at the beginning of the measure, because we have the whole notes there. So once you can play it, I'll play it slow first. It should sound like this. And and I'll play it again. If you need to, you can play it even slower than that, but I'm going to play it a little bit faster. There you go. So that's example 3 with the eighth notes. Let's go look at the next one. Here's example 4 with eighth notes and rests. Again, I've written the counting up top for you. Finger numbers are on the bottom. Same finger numbers as last time. This is a very similar one to the one we just did. The only difference is that we've added some quarter rests. You know quarter rest gets how many beats? Hopefully you said 1, because that is the answer. So let's look at the right hand. It's just the counting of it. We'll work on the finger numbers in a minute. So notice that we have to split up beat 1 into 1 and, because we have eighth notes. They're each worth half a beat, like we talked about before. Just know that on beat 2 you're going to be resting for 1 beat. So it's still important that you count out, at least in your head, to avoid skipping that rest or shortchanging it or holding it too long. Same thing, beat 3 of measure 2 as a rest. Last beat of measure 3. The third beat of measure 2 as a rest. The last beat of measure 3 as a rest. Beat 3 of the next to last measure as a rest. That's a lot to say. And then the last measure is just a whole note. So you're going to count it like this. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you don't have to pop your hand up every time you have a rest. I was just kind of showing you physically where those rests are. So we have the first measure, right hand, treble clef. So we have C with 1, D with 2. This is actually the same fingering as the last one, but we're going to go over it anyway, I guess. C with 1, D with 2, rest. You don't have to put your finger there. G with 5, F with 4. Going into the second measure, we have E with 3, D with 2, G with 5, F with 4, rest, D with 2. And then we have third measure there. We have C with 1, D with 2, E with 3. Then we're going to cross under because we need to... Actually, you don't have to do that in this one. You did it in the last one because we had the C at the end of the measure. But because we have a rest, you could still use 1. That's fine. Let's just do that because it's written there. And then you want to go the next to last measure. You go G with 5, F with 4, E with 3, D with 2, rest, D with 2 again, and C with 1. Left hand, pretty simple. Actually, the left hand, I believe, is identical to the last one. So we don't need to go over that. So you can look at that last example for that. Let's try to play it, shall we? There we go, once again. So there you have it, all 4 examples. We did them beginning to end, and there you have it. So kind of a longer lesson. But somebody did ask me when we were doing this, and I thought sooner better than later, so I kind of put these all into the same lesson. Anyway, as always, I'm going to post these up to the wiki, and I'll see you guys and girls in a minute for the outro. Okay, so that concludes lesson 22. All we did today was play some two-handed examples. We played 4 of them. They included sharps, flats, rests, and eighth notes, and that was it. So next time, I have no idea what we're talking about, but I'm sure it will be interesting. So I'll see you then. Thanks.